All right, Ambush, and today we are joined by a country pop artist who also actually happens to be an actress, a model, a dancer, and oh so much more. And this multi-talented individual was a finalist in last year's the 2021 Jim Beam National Talent Search Contest. She also found 3 of her previous singles finding their way to radio last year as well, and she's carrying that momentum here strong in 2022, and that success, that momentum carries her into her latest single, Airplane Champagne. What we're here to discuss today with my guest, Kassandra Clack. How's it going today, Kassandra?
Hello, I'm wonderful. How are you?
Ooh, I'm having myself a fantastic day, even better, and now that I've got that wonderful smile, that wonderful energy as well.
Thank you.
And of course, I just mentioned there some of that success that is leading you into this year. So before I dive into the latest single here, I just want to know, what has it sort of been like to go through this past year here? It's probably a little bit of a whirlwind, as 3 of your previous singles, some of them coming from 2020, 2019, and otherwise. What is it like to have those go to radio years after they release, and all of these things that have just come your way?
It has been such an incredible journey, obviously, post-pandemic, trying to get kind of back in the swing of whatever we're all calling the new normal. Yeah, really just trying to maneuver the new industry that we find ourselves in. The 3 singles that have made it to radio have all been just an insane journey to get there. And I would have released, I released to digital stores initially, kind of do a bit of like beta testing, see how they do. And then, when, budget allows, then I can kind of help do a little bit of a push to radio. And then I was able to get to like top indie through DMDS. And that was an amazing feat. I was like, wait a second. This is some typo here. And then the next week it was like top downloaded in Canada. So I've just been so grateful. Like I'm just like testing out and trialing different little things, and then they're getting a little bit of good feedback back. And it's just been an amazing, wonderful journey. And I'm constantly learning and growing. And I'm kind of in this permanent sponge mode because of how fast paced the industry is constantly changing. I'm sure you find for you, even in, podcast world, it's like, just when you think you got a little bit of a handle on it, you wake up and you're like, wait, is Twitch still the thing? Now what are we doing? Now what's the new thing now?
Okay, tall form video. Okay, everybody, tall form video. Go, 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 go.
Totally. Yeah, I'm looking into some podcast things for potentially in the future. And I'm like, okay, Anchor. Okay. I'm kind of listening to this thing about Anchor. And now I'm like, I don't know if I have time now. I don't know if that's a mistake. I'm not sure. We'll find out.
Hey, we'll find out. We'll see what the future continues to bring. But of course, like we mentioned, some of this momentum did bring you to an incredible new single entitled Airplane Champagne. It was released, I believe, at the beginning of June here. So a couple of weeks that the song has been out. So of course, before we dive into the reception, I want to know how the song came together. Can you take us a little bit behind that?
Yes, absolutely. So Airplane Champagne is your all-season summer getaway song. Yeah. And it's been an amazing time trying to do that song. I obviously did vocals remotely to the producer in Nashville. So that was incredible. And that was a really amazing experience. There's this new thing. It's been around for a bit now. I'm late to the party. Audio movers. We were able to kind of do some remote recording, and I was able to like listen into the instrumentalists, the session players. They were like doing their guitar, throwing all the tracks down. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm here in Vancouver, like listening to it, and then hit the studio to record vocals over that. And the song was on hold for me for a little bit from some Sony writers, incredible writers. Karen Kasowski Femke Weidema as well as Emily. And I'm just like, I'm beyond excited that they would let me have a part in this song. So I'm just so excited that it's out. And I was really happy I was able to get it out for summertime for everyone. And then the reception has been fantastic. It's actually been one of my like higher rated ones. I think it's just got a bit of like that chill, happy, just positive, joyful vibes, and a little bit more on that obviously pop modern avenue. So I think people kind of like a bit of that twist.
Absolutely. Definitely has some fun energy to it. You mentioned there, you have quite the songwriting team behind the lyrics there. And even then, just being able to work with such an esteemed producer in Dan Swiminer. But like, as you mentioned also before, just how we've all had to adapt. But thankfully, technology, as many headaches as it causes us, was able to solve a few things there. And as you said, able to listen in live as the tracks are being laid down.
Yeah, no, it's seriously, I'm like, as I'm doing it, I'm like, this is just mind boggling. I don't even know what's happening right now. Yeah. And it was, so Dan Swindemer engineered the vocal from Vancouver, and then it was fully produced by Grady Saxman at Saxman Studios in Nashville, Tennessee.
Okay. So there's a couple of producers in on this one then.
Solely produced in Nashville, but it was engineered just remotely through Vancouver, through Dan. So
okay, perfect. And of course, one thing that I really thought that was really fun too, we mentioned fun track. Sort of the flight attendant clips at the beginning and the end of the song. When did that idea sort of come into play?
When I first heard the song, I was instantly in love with it. And then, of course, I was triggered because I do have, aviation in my blood, in my family. My brother is a commercial pilot, and I'm very proud of him. And I just immediately was like, I am going to be the flight attendant on this airplane themed record. And so we kind of just came up with ideas for like, well, what does like a captain say? So I'm like, oh, Skylar, what does a captain say? And his wife is also a pilot. So I was like, guys, what do you say when you're flying airplanes?
Well, I'm glad that you had somebody that you could have referenced in order to, get the proper verbiage down.
Totally. Yeah.
Slash, also play a little bit of a reference to some family there at the same time. So, that's continuing the fun of things for sure.
Yeah, it was perfect for sure.
That's fantastic. And of course, you mentioned the reception to the song being very strong. So far, getting very good feedback to everything. So for some of your listeners and otherwise, like, what would you say some of the top messages you've received have been?
That they have it on repeat. So that's really nice. A lot of people just really like to have it on while they're in the kitchen cooking, or they're, folding laundry, or just like, it just tells me that it does have a very nice, happy, calm energy. So that means a lot to me, because that's something I really, I want to help instill in a lot of people's lives. I'm like, we can all use just a little dose of it. So however it comes out, whether it's through my music on Spotify or whatnot, then that's great.
Hey, definitely something, as you say, a lot of people need inside of their lives, especially inside of this hectic, as you also said, ever-changing world.
Yeah, sure.
Another thing that people definitely need is a little bit of optimism. And another single that you released earlier this year was a track entitled Optimist. So, of course, besides my cheesy lines and ways of getting there, can you take us a little bit behind this track? Yeah.
Absolutely. And I will say it was an effortless, graceful lead-in, Colton. It was wonderful. I appreciate it. And Optimist, of course. Optimist is a song that struck my heart immediately. I've always considered myself to be an optimist. I always look for the goodness in people. And I think that a lot of people can relate in that way. We all hope for the best, and sometimes we might stick around for a little bit, to figure out that perhaps, the best might be real deep down there, and there's some true colors here. And so in turn, you just realize about yourself, like this worthiness that, might have been buried, this feeling of worthiness and self-importance and value. And finally, you have that moment, that realization. And then, it's a good thing that you're an optimist, because if you hadn't have been, you wouldn't have found out the incredible amount of worthiness that you do have.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. It can speak to yourself, right? So sometimes you're trying to find as they say, the diamond inside, or the needle in the haystack, the diamond in the coal, as they say. And sometimes to be the person to try and find that, they always say that's the ideal, but to be the person who has the patience and everything else to put in the work to try and find that thing, that's a very valued asset itself.
Yeah, I agree. I think it says a lot to you, like to yourself, for yourself, and about yourself. So immediately I was like, optimist, that one. Yeah, that's that's me.
I feel that.
Absolutely. Definitely.
Oh my goodness. And hopefully some people in the crowd were able to feel the vibes, the energy of your music, as you were able to make your way across the country earlier in June here to Canadian Music Week, to be able to play both of these tracks and maybe a few other songs in front of a nice little reception, in front of a nice little Toronto crowd. So what was it like to be able to do that, be a part of Canadian Music Week, play some of these new songs in Toronto, especially after these last couple of years?
It's speechless, really, absolutely speechless. It's my first time ever heading, that type of distance for a show. Obviously, I was one of the finalists in the Jim Beam talent search. So a part of that, little did I know, is, 6 months later, I received an invite to showcase. And the showcase really presents such a wonderful opportunity for artists in any capacity, independence, to kind of like put on a bit of a showcase for, labels, agents, artists, reps of any kind. And as well as kind of get to meet new people, connect with a new fan base in a new city. And it was really magical. I had a wonderful band coordinator who was able to tee everything up for me. And then I stayed at my producer's studio, so we were working on our upcoming album, as well as getting to do Canadian Music Week all week, which was an incredible experience, just like networking every single day, try to find 10 minutes to eat a hot dog on the street. Just like, it was insane. I was like at the convention center all day. And then I was like, okay, I should just get some Chipotle and then eat it in my car on the way to the gig, where I got to connect with a ton of new people and audience. And it was amazing. It was so wonderful.
It's always, I love how honest you are about just like how hectic those experiences can be, where it's just like, it is a wonderful thing, but at the same time, it's literally that, where it's like, okay, where is food and how do I get the time to eat it?
Exactly. Like, hey, I probably have the time for a croissant and a black coffee right now. Let's go.
I'm just going to hide behind this food cart here while nobody's watching.
No, exactly. I did have to be like, because I really tried to take advantage of this CMW experience. It was my first year ever going. And so I was like, I booked back-to-back meetings with, any people in the industry that I could. I'm like, just teach me and help me. And, what do I need to get, level up? And then I was like, I haven't eaten in like 5 hours. So I'm going to go to the cafe right now. And and I was like, staring off and, when you're a space cadet, because you haven't eaten. So I'm like staring at a food truck. I'm like, I am so weak.
Just staring out the window at people walking by with their lunches, just like, oh, man, wow. Where did you get that? Please tell me.
Exactly. Yeah. You must have done that before.
Maybe been there once or twice.
Yeah.
But I'm glad that you were able to make the most of the experience. And of course, anyone who hasn't seen, you did release a nice little reel, a video, as we said. Tall form is a thing right now. So you did get to release a nice little clip reel, taking people behind your experiences there as well. So of course, with speaking about video, do we maybe have some music videos, maybe some more content? What does the future potentially hold for us here?
Absolutely. So content-wise, I have really enjoyed meeting people online as I've been like kind of bringing, parts of the very glamorous sides of what we do in the industry. And then like just letting people in on that. I'm like, yes, this is me eating dinner in my car for the 10th time. This is what we do. And just like, I think people kind of like to see a bit of like, what is this thing that she's always talking about? And so I'm like, come on the road with me. And then in regards to music videos, etc., I am a Factor funded artist now. So I get to record an actual debut album, which is insane. And so with the release of my debut album will come some official music videos. I am also toying with the idea of doing something like, and I feel like you're very technologically savvy. So tell me if I'm pronouncing this right. Like VR or like with the goggle things.
Mm-hmm. Virtual reality.
Thank you. Yeah. Virtual reality. So I feel like that's going to be a big thing. So I'm wondering, what do you think? Should I do something like VR related?
So I actually work inside the pro wrestling industry as a referee. And one of the shows I was just at in Vancouver, matches were filmed in VR, actually.
What?
Yeah. So it's actually something that, like, from what I can see, might actually start to become more of a thing. So yeah, it might be worth taking the shot at least, right?
Yeah. I'll look into that. Because I do hear like concerts are going to be happening VR and like even like in the interactive sense of like, oh, here's a concert, want a t-shirt, like click, add to cart.
Mm-hmm. And make people feel like they're in the music video, right?
Totally. I mean, I'm personally more of a live. I like my people in person, but to each their own, of course.
I agree. I feel like being like inside of a music video, like sometimes that might just jump a little bit too much, but
yeah.
Live crowds definitely much more the vibe for sure. But either way, right? Whatever works for everybody, right? To each their own.
Yeah.
Perfect. And of course, you mentioned that we are leading towards a debut album here. So without giving away too much, we've already hinted away a little bit to it here already. What can you tell us about this upcoming project?
It's exciting. This upcoming project is something I never expected or thought I'd be able to, fund and take on. So I am putting so much thoughtful consideration into every piece, every component of this record. And I think people can expect a lot of I'm hoping that people will be able to relate to these stories that I'm trying to share and these moments that we've all been going through. Like, that's my goal. And and to bring in some instrumentation that's maybe a bit like forward, away in the future, think about, it's going to be released in the next like year. So I'm kind of like, what's going to be hip then, and what are people going to want to listen to in a year? So trying to really bring in a longevity.
Well, I mean, what are people going to want to listen to in a year? Obviously, Kassandra Clack. Come on, get with the program, people.
That's right.
That is right. If people want to connect more with you, Kassandra, what's the best way that they can go ahead and do so?
Absolutely. I'd love to connect with everyone personally on all the social media platforms, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter. I'm on LinkedIn, Facebook, all the places, as well as KassandraClack.com. And you can hear and request any of my music at your local radio station, as well as SiriusXM.
Ooh, as you absolutely should do. Go out there, get those numbers up, get that Kassandra Clack love out into the world. Some good vibes. And Kassandra, of course, we've been talking about just that, crafting this music, releasing some of this music, the last two singles here with Airplane Champagne, Optimist, some of the success that you've been able to find inside of this past year here. And what I would love to know now is, through this past year, couple of years maybe even, how has this time helped you to grow as a person, or what has it taught you about yourself?
I would say over the last few years, everything that has been going on, it's really allowed me to give myself more time to reflect and maybe live life a little more for me instead of giving it away, if that makes sense. I think we all have a tendency to either like to be busy or just really fill up our time, our calendar, our schedule. And, it can be hard to create this life that you love when there's so many moving parts. And so just to kind of bring it back to the basics and the simple things and give yourself what you need so that you can show up for your other people, for your circle, your family, because you can't show up for anyone else until you show up for yourself. So that would be what I've learned.
Wow. So, protecting a little bit of your energy for yourself and then using that energy so that you can do more in the outside world.
Yeah.
Ooh, I like that. And I thank you for sharing this lesson as well as the tales behind Optimist and this latest single, Airplane Champagne. You can find them right now on your favorite music streaming service. You absolutely should. Go ahead and hit the follow button as well. Kassandra, I want to thank you so very much for joining us here today on the DTP.
Thank you so much for having me.